Hello, Serge here for the backyard. Clipboard, we have another question from the webinar that we got a ton of questions for, and I thank you all for taking the time to send them in. And since we only could answer a very limited number in that short time, I'm trying to take and get these all answered over here in dailies. And so today we have one from Jim Stratton, and Jim asks, "Please, Serge, help me." Okay, Jim, that's what we're going to try to do. So he says, "I need to know whenever I want to play the ball down the left side of the fairway on my drive, it always slices right. Next one is short. How do I determine the correct way to set up the correct distance from the ball with the driver, and does the club make a difference, say, from a driver to an 8-iron? Thanks." Again, that's Jim Stratton. All right, so Jim got a double question. We'll see if we can answer both of them today. First one is what happens when he aims down the left side of the fairway? It always tends to slice. Well, I would have to say that in most cases, number one, it's probably alignment. You might be trying to aim down the left side of the fairway, but you might be aiming right. So the only way to hit it down the left side of the fairway is you have to come over the top and somewhat pull it. And if you come over the top and the face is square coming in impact and opens up more, that's going to give you the slice. And so I would say number one, look at alignment, because that's always usually the number one issue when we get into some ball striking problems. Ball position could be too far back and hitting it too soon. The club hasn't squared up. But if you are aimed correct and it hasn't squared up yet, it might start there and then slice, or start a little right and slice. So I think that always check your alignment. The best way to do that is anytime you hit one of those shots or any shot that doesn't start where you want it, or start someplace other than where you want it, or even where you want it, but then has a lot of curve to it that you definitely don't want and go into a wrong place. If you've maintained a good swing, bring the club back, your stance back, place the club down by your toes, then come behind it and look at your alignment. Remember, golf is a railroad track, right? The ball's on the right track, the feet are on the left track, and we want toes, knees, hips, shoulders, and eyes all parallel left of our target if we're a right-hander, and parallel right if you're a left-hander. And so if that club on the ground by your toes is not parallel left, it could be, if it's way left, then you know you're set up to make a slice, and it could be right, which means you're definitely very likely coming over the top. But I always come back and I stand where the ball was, and I put my hand up and parallel to that golf club on the ground, and that's where the ball should have went. And if my ball didn't go there, and when I put my hand up, that's not where I wanted the ball to go, then you know what is your alignment. So don't forget to do this. This is something I ask all my students to do in golf lessons, and unfortunately, almost none of them do it. I mean, I've talked to DJ about it 1,000 times. He doesn't religiously do it, and most of my students don't do it, but I religiously do it, and many times, more often than I'd like to think, I find myself off, and when I hit a shot not the way I want it. Whether it might even be straight, but it's a bad, I might have heeled it or toed it or something, or thinned it, and it's relatively straight. But you can check out that it caused you to come out of the shot a little bit if the alignment's off. So always check your alignment. I think that could be the big issue. The second question you asked was how do you set up with every club in the bag? And so you came and you mentioned the driver, and then you said everything pretty much down all the way to the lower irons. Well, the number one thing I always say is that I try to make the same setup with every single club. As you can see, the clubs are different length here. Here's my 7-iron, and if I try to put them shaft to shaft, the 7-iron is way down here. I mean, it's the length of where my right thumb is just about with the driver. And so the key is when I walk into the ball, I use my same routine, and I walk in, and I put the club down, and then I set my feet, and I always want to feel like my hands are about from the thumb, the top thumb knuckle, all the way up to somewhere around my chin to my nose. So if I get in here with a 7-iron, it's naturally shorter, therefore my hands are more vertical. As you can see here, there appears to be a little bit more angle in there, and from the wrist, but the shaft does that. The thing is, you have to remember is that look at the lie angle of this club, and look at the lie angle of the 7-iron when I put them both flat on the ground. The 7-iron is still quite more vertical than the driver, and conversely, as the clubs go shorter, they get more vertical. And so you just walk in, you set up to the golf ball, and you just, let me move this ball all the way out here, And no matter what club you have, you try to make the same setup. See, as the club gets shorter to longer, I'm still trying to make the same setup. So I just drop my hands, make sure it's at the center of the ball and the center of the club, and I just go. So from a wedge to a driver, I'm trying to make the same setup, and then I try to make the same swing. In the catcher's mitt and up the tree, in the catcher's mitt and up the tree. The ball doesn't know who's holding the club. The ball doesn't know what your age is when you're holding it. The ball doesn't know what side of the ball you're standing on. So it's the same for all the clubs and all the swings for everybody. The laws of physics don't change, and so therefore you have to learn your setup and just try to make the same setup with every club and make the same swing. And you do that, you'll be making a lot more good swings and hitting a lot more good shots and shooting those lower scores. Well, that's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.